The writer's room of one of TV's biggest hits harbored a toxic secret that finally came to light. Lisa Kudrow has recently broken her silence about something that happened behind the scenes of Friends that most fans had no idea about. The writer's room, which was dominated by male writers, was apparently a place where inappropriate sexual comments about the female cast members were made regularly. We're talking about Jennifer Aniston and Courtney Cox being the targets of these remarks. What makes this revelation so significant is that it completely shatters the image that many people have of how the show was actually made. For decades, Friends has been remembered as this wholesome, groundbreaking sitcom, but the reality of what happened in that writer's room tells a very different story. In 2006, a female writer who worked on the Friends set filed a lawsuit that detailed years of harassment she endured in the writer's room. What made her case so damning wasn't just that inappropriate comments were made, it was that she repeatedly, explicitly asked the male writers to stop, and they ignored her requests entirely. According to the lawsuit, male writers would vocalize graphic sexual fantasies and crude remarks about Jennifer Aniston and Courtney Cox. These weren't stray comments made once or twice. The allegations documented a pattern where she would directly tell her male colleagues that their behavior was making her uncomfortable, that it needed to stop, and they would continue anyway. Some of the remarks were described as deeply explicit, focusing on the actresses' bodies in ways that crossed every professional boundary. What's particularly striking is that despite working in a collaborative environment where communication should matter, her voice was essentially silenced. The male writers didn't just dismiss her concerns, they continued the behavior in front of her, suggesting they either didn't take her seriously or simply didn't care. This wasn't a case of misunderstanding or workplace banter that got out of hand. It was a deliberate, sustained campaign of harassment that persisted even after being called out directly. The lawsuit exposed that in one of television's most prestigious writers' rooms, a woman's explicit request for basic respect went completely unheeded. What makes this lawsuit particularly damning isn't just that the harassment happened, it's that it was reported and ignored. According to the court documents, the female writer didn't suffer in silence. She repeatedly approached male colleagues and supervisors, explicitly asking them to stop making graphic sexual comments about her castmates. She documented instances of crude jokes, vulgar remarks about women's bodies, and even simulated sexual acts performed in the writer's room. But each time she complained, nothing changed. The behavior continued. No one was reprimanded. No one was asked to leave the room. The gatekeepers, the people with actual power to shut it down, chose not to. This pattern of dismissal is what transforms individual incidents into systemic abuse. It sends a clear message: your discomfort doesn't matter. Your voice doesn't matter. Keep your head down and accept it. This wasn't unique to Friends. For decades, women across Hollywood reported harassment only to watch their complaints disappear into HR black holes or get brushed aside with hollow apologies. The difference here is that we have documentation. We have specifics. We have a woman willing to fight back legally when institutional silence failed her. That's what forced the industry to finally pay attention. What's truly sobering about this Friends scandal is that it wasn't some low-budget cable show operating in the shadows. This was one of the most acclaimed, beloved productions in television history. If a workplace this prestigious and visible could harbor this level of toxicity, what does that tell us about the countless other sets we never hear about? The answer is probably worse than we think. This case exposes a fundamental problem: power imbalance. When you have predominantly male writers making creative decisions, controlling budgets, and determining whose voice gets heard, there's no natural check on behavior. Female writers and staff members had no real leverage to enforce change. They could complain, but complaints went nowhere because the people in charge didn't see the problem as serious. What the Friends writers' room really demonstrates is that acknowledgement alone changes nothing. Lisa Kudrow speaking out now is important, but it comes decades after the fact. True accountability means structural change, diverse hiring, clear consequences for harassment, and actual power given to those reporting misconduct. Without that, we're just talking about problems instead of fixing them. Lisa Kudrow breaking her silence on what happened behind the scenes marks a turning point. By publicly acknowledging the toxic environment that existed, she's helping shift the conversation from denial to accountability. Her willingness to speak up reminds us that real change in Hollywood requires more than just apologies, it demands systemic action and cultural shift. The industry's reckoning is ongoing, and voices like hers matter.